Hey folks, Rob bringing another unbagging. Alright, so Chef du Pont finally got this in our hands. I should say Dave got this in his hands. This is number 2 out of a proposed 3 drop zone featuring the 82nd Airborne actions on D-Day, June 6th. This is a Chef du Pont, so it's a small little bag, only features a HASL map, some scenarios, and it's again just very small, so it's quite cheap. I'm not sure the price. We got this from Tadnat Games, again Peter from Kingston, Ontario, and let's see what's inside. Alright, Chef du Pont. So I've been eyeballing this for a while now. I saw a couple other unbaggings. I still haven't tried Sainte Mere Eglise, the box set that preceded this one, so we'll get into that one eventually, I assume. Obviously not complete. It comes with nice thick cardstock cover, so it's not a flimsy package by any stretch. What this contains is, we have a 22 by 30 and a half map sheet, 6 scenarios. We have the 12 pages that make up the chapter, and of course 1 chapter divider. What is a scenario without errata? One of the scenarios has an entry instruction which is incorrect text, so there we have it. And the cover art was incorrectly attributed to the wrong person, so the correct name is Nicholas Scooby. And so that's been corrected as well. So definitely want to credit your art whenever possible to the right person. All right, so here we have chapter CDP, Drop Zone Chef du Pont. Quite small, so if you're familiar with any of the miniature ones like Singling or Primasol, those kind of ones, it's again, it's only like 12 pages thick. We only have 3 main chapters. Of course, like most campaign games, you're going to have the initial part's going to be some special rules. Then you're going to have a chapter on special terrain, and then of course the campaign game itself, things that are applicable to everything. For some reason, marsh stream hexes are not considered concealment terrain. Understandable, I suppose, because you're always going to be floundering around in them, so people are always going to see you, and you're standing there with your rifle above your head. So interesting. No quarters in effect for both sides. Again, interesting, I suppose. Let me get into the terrain. A lot of work on streams and ditches and canals. We have slopes. Slopes are making an appearance in a lot of places. And given the density of the terrain, it's kind of understanding you have bocage, and slopes are going to have to make an appearance just because of the subtle variations, undulations of the ground. And of course, we have, with HASLs, you have non-standard depictions of things like railroads, buildings and railroads in the same hex. It just tends to maybe lead to some kind of confusing line of sight cases and lines of fire and such. But luckily we have many verbose examples of line of sights. So this one here, you have a 747 on a hill with a slope looking over bocage at various locations. Interesting examples of what can see what. And then we get into the campaign game proper, chapter 3, which of course has their own campaign game SSRs. And then we get into your standard refit phases. These are all fairly standard in any multi-man publishing campaign game. This is very similar from first glance to what the Sainte Mere Eglise campaign game is like. There is no front lines per se. And it is very, and you don't have CPP that you're buying purchase points. It's more or less pre-assigned groups. Sometimes you'll have small pick lists like this that you can pick from, but there's no large-scale purchases that you're making in a standard game. So it's fairly unique from that perspective. Yeah, so quite small. Gavin take. Good old Gavin take. So this is the actual HASL map taking place in the old scenario. I wonder how this one is in comparison to the standard one on the geoboards, because it uses the same kind of configuration. You have 8 squads, you have a 10-3 and a 10-2, and you have a similar composition of Germans defending, although you do have now foxholes, which were not available in the standard scenario, which Dave and I figured that the best way for the Americans to take it and win is you just go right, you bull rush the center. You have 3 747s with 3 smoke exponents. You're throwing white phosphorus smoke grenades. You have 10-2 and a 10-3. Chances are you're going to be eliminating any kind of TEM because you're neg 3 or neg 2, and you're just going to bulldoze your 447s before they have any kind of chance of shooting you down. So more than likely you're just going to bull rush the center and take them down, rather than try and flank the wings like some guys tried to do, avoiding taking damage. Just charge. Yeah, not the most glamorous of ways of doing it, and of course there's the odd chance you might take a hit, but and they've kept it with no snipers as well, so because a sniper could quite easily take out one of your 10-3, 10-2s, and then the game is up for the Americans. But we found that this scenario definitely favors the Americans. It would be interesting to see with the board set up the way it is whether or not that mimics the scenario. Rally point CDP2. These are all quite small scenarios so far, the first two. This one's 5.5 turns, and again 8 squads, 5 American 747s. Quite leader heavy. Another 10-2 leading the way, facing off against 5 second line 447s and 3 first line 467s. This one's a bit meatier. You have 15 German squads, a mix of first and second, and then you have 14 747s coming on at various states, with a 10-3, a 10-2, 2 10-2s, wow, and an 8-1 and 8-0 to round it off for the Americans. 6.5 turns, very leader heavy on the 82nd side. Hill 30, with a little more standard. Germans are on the offensive this time. You have 8 747s in the defense. Standard leaders now 9-1, 8-1, 8-0. We have 11 467s on the attack. And then we have CDP 5, which is 9 versus 14 German squads who are on the attack. Germans do have 4 armor, fairly weak armor to that, and they only 1 bazooka on the American side. Although they do have gammon bombs per the SSRs, so if you get into danger close, you could have some ATMM action happening on you. Not that they probably need it with the 747 anyways, but... And then the last one's consolidation. Again, Germans are attacking. They have 17 squads, including 4 conscript, against 11 airborne 747s with a 9-2, 2 A1s, and an 8-0. Alright, so this is the chapter divider for the campaign. And we have our 7 CG dates with our each individual turn lengths. Nothing crazy there. Our little brief little map, or a miniaturized map. Obviously, it's a different building setup than what is in the standard Gavin take map. So again, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out in relation to it. I'm curious what the Roar scenario archive stats are on the Gavin take scenario in relation to the other one. All right, I just set it up here on my table. And we'll look at some of the detail. various victory locations. And the town itself, Chef du Pont. Sainte Mere Eglise Road. So as we said, this is going to be the second of 3 airborne related, 82nd Airborne related historical games. Not sure where the third one is in relation to this one, but it'll be interesting to tie them all in. I believe the intent is that you can tie in all the maps together. I'm not sure on that, but I believe that is the case. So right there you can see a gap in the bocage, a little trail break if you will, so you can exit. That has its own set of rules inside the in the rules, and of course you got to watch out walking in front of that because you could get tagged. Nice map. I'm not a fan of bocage. I haven't played with it very much. Pain in the ass from what I understand, but one day we're going to get into some DD action again, Dave and I, and we're going to get into these airborne maps. One day we'll get into SME, we'll get into Chef du Pont, and of course we'll get into that third one. I say one day because one day. Nice little wooden footbridge right there. And all that non-concealment terrain marsh. What a marshy area that it's going to be to cross. Obviously you're not going to be walking across that too much. CXing all the way. You're going to have a couple of constricted crossing points, which will be heavily defended, no doubt, by the Germans. All right, so that was a brief overlook at Chef du Pont. Again, not too bad for a little scenario grab bag. Tadnat Games has it at not too bad for $36 from Tadnat Games again. For a little scenario pack. It's almost a scenario pack, mini HASL, if you will. It comes with a nice map and campaign game, 6 scenarios, and enough to play a small little add-on to Sainte Mere Eglise. And it's going to be, like I said, second of a 3-parter. So let me know what you guys think. Chef du Pont. This has already been out for a couple of months now, and I'm not sure when part 3 is going to be coming out, but judging from what they were saying on the We're Not Dead Yet, it's going to be imminent, and I imagine it'll be out like sometime 2026. First half, I'd imagine, maybe even sooner. Yeah, so Chef du Pont, I assume most of you guys already have this one, and the price for a bag game is not too bad. This might be a way of the future for MMP to cut costs. Short, small, thin, easily stockable and packageable games rather than the big 3-inch box set that costs $300 and is going to be a bitch and very expensive to ship. So Chef du Pont. See you guys later.